and drag it in here. I can call it jump. You can overwrite this, the one we had done. And this image now, look, if I press play, of course, we're gonna see the jump animation here on this object. Okay. Press play. But we don't need it. We only need that animation file. That is actually nicely created here.
Already saved in our folder, right? For us to access.
So look, we're gonna delete this now. Delete, yeah.
And deleting the character from the scene does not delete the jump animation asset that's what we just created.
Yeah, look here. Here you can nicely see the jump animation file is still there. Okay. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna go here to my character again, go to the animator. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna actually take that animation file, that jump one, and drag it in here.
Awesome, now we have two animations on the character.
Yeah. And this is really cool now. Look, if I wanna go from run to jump, the only thing I have to do is look here. Make a transition from the run animation to the jump animation. Make an transition from the jump animation to the run animation.
You get that menu just by right-clicking the boxes.
Yeah, just right-click in the box and make a transition. So look, I'm gonna select here my character, and I'm gonna go here to my scene. And what we're gonna see is that automatically I'm gonna play one. Let me just make the screen here a little bit bigger so we can see. Okay, yeah, and then we're gonna put this to the animator and select my characters. Press play. What we're gonna see is we're gonna see the run animation. Automatically goes to the jump animation.
So he's running, then he jumps, and then he runs, and then he jumps, and it transitions back between the two automatically.
So, but what I want to do is I don't want that automatically plays run, automatically jumps. I only want that it plays jump when I click the jump button, basically.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So look, we can say here, okay, well, we're going to trigger something.
So we have that parameter setting in the bottom corner there.
Yeah. And I'm going to say here jump. Okay.
And we're making a trigger type.
Yeah. And that's actually a very good question. If you say, well, what's actually a trigger or a boolean? Okay. If you do a boolean and you say to this as true, then you have to write in code later on deact A, not false. If you do a trigger, it will automatically just do the opposite. It will one time true and automatically back to false.
So it's similar to a boolean, and you handle it like a boolean.
Yeah.
But you just have to set it true once, and as soon as it does that animation, as soon as it triggers it, it automatically sets it back to false again.
Yeah. So what we see is here the run to jump. Okay. Here we're going to say, well, that only will happen when jump is true. When will I go from jump to run? On exit time. Does that mean that play the animation jump and automatically goes back to run?
So no matter what, we do the full animation for the jump, and then we just go back to running.
Yeah. But when I press play and I press jump, okay, just by accident it worked. Oh no, it works. It works.
The script already had the code for that.
Yes, the code has already added to it. So when I press play here, look here, click and I jump, play animation, and it goes down. Okay, how does that work? We're gonna just look at the script here quickly. So we have the script attached to it here.
The cooking show magic of the script already being finalized.
It's really simple. What you only have to do is here, set the trigger, jump.
So anim.setTrigger jump.
So what's the anim part here? Here on before my game starts, I actually go to the component animator. So it goes here to, and here in my character.
So that's just a local variable to that object that references the animator component.
Correct. So it goes to the animator component, here the controller. Okay, opens this controller and goes to this parameter and activates this one time to true. And that's why we're going to go from run to jump.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
So what we're going to do is now look here, I'm going to take the camera, and I make the camera a child of my character. Okay. Press play. And then my character is jumping. Oops.
So now the camera is moving just because we made it a child of the character. Because that way the XY position is relative to the parent object, just like everything else. So as the character is moving, the camera is going to move in proportion to that.
Yeah. But I made it a little bit more interesting here. What I want to do is with my camera, I only want to happen when my character comes here in the screen, like comes in, runs, and then starting from here, my camera will follow. Okay. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take here, like set here, and we're gonna create an empty game object. Okay. Place it here. I'm gonna say starting from here. So I'm gonna make that object a child of my character. And what I'm gonna do, we're gonna say reset position, so it's perfectly matches there with that.
Okay. So it's in the exact same position as the character.
Yeah. I'm gonna take my camera and make a child of that. Okay. So then I can sit with the moment my character is the same value as that object or higher, then follow the.
So you move those around. So you have at the top hierarchy, you have the character, and the game object that you set to be the exact same X, Y, Z position of the character.
Yeah.
And then a child of the empty game object is the camera.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, I have a little script here. Okay. And camera follow. Okay. And I'm going to take that script and you see, okay, here we can see if the camera position, if the character's position is more than 10, okay, we're going to then follow. So I'm going to drag and drop that on my script. I'm going to drag and drop that on my game object here. Mm-hmm. Okay. What's my character? This is my character here. Okay.
So that character is just a variable that you have in that script, which we see in the code.
Yes. So the character will run here, but of course the camera starts to follow at a certain point here. Okay. We could start to tweak the script that it actually follows exactly that point here in the script here. So so we could start to change those variables and expose them. But I know we're in a little bit 5-minute time constraint here. Mm-hmm. So what we're going to do is just going to focus on the pooling to make it an endless runner, the game. Okay. Mm-hmm. So later on we can then come back to this and work more with that or make an extended movie file for our community on it, everything. So we're going to take the camera and just make it a child of the character.
Just for now, just to move along the lesson.
Yeah. So what we want to do is we want to start to pool this. We want to make this an endless runner game. Mm-hmm. Okay, how can I do that? Okay, you're going to take this object, okay, and I put it as 0. And take another one.
That's the one that we named prefab earlier.
Yeah.
But we didn't actually make it a prefab yet.
Exactly. It's not a prefab. Okay. For this case, we don't need to make it actually a prefab. I'm pretty sure that Adam and Matt will cover that really in depth. So what we're going to do is here, we're going to take this object and I'm going to duplicate it and I'm going to call it 1. Okay. And I move this object and I place it here. Okay. Okay. Place it nicely there.
Make sure it's all lined up.
Yeah, we can use snapping. I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to call it 2. Okay.
So now we have 3 different versions.
Yeah. And why is that? Okay. And I'm going to move it up to here. Okay. What we're going to do is when my character runs here over the screen, the character starts to run in the first level. Okay. Mm-hmm. The first prefab here. Then when it hits here, I'm going to make here a trigger. When it hits that trigger, I'm going to move that object to there. Then this object will be here. Then I can say the moment I hit, I'm going to put a trigger here, mm-hmm. like an object that when I hit it, I will move this object 6 units forward or 10 units forward. Okay. Why I put that object here? I could put it here. So I'm going to move them each time this length forward. Okay. Because then I have to put this object behind it, and I just want to make it super fast for myself, mm-hmm. that I don't have to put objects behind or in the front, just move things forward.
Just make it clear.
Yeah. So I'm going to go back here to my menu. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a trigger in this prefab here. Okay. And this prefab too, I'm going to delete it for the moment because I'm going to make exactly the same prefab for it. So I'm going to create here, and let's say we can do a 3D object, a cube. Okay. Place it here and scale this object. Okay. So that could be my trigger. That's the object I have to hit, and then I'm going to say move this object forward. Okay. So I'm going to call it trigger. Okay. And I take that trigger object and I'm going to make it a child of my prefab. Mm-hmm. So when I move that prefab, that trigger moves with it. Take that trigger here. Okay. And now I'm going to take here a script. I have somewhere a script called pooling here.
You could just make this an empty game object and add a physics 2D collider on it.
Yeah, exactly. So in the script here, I'm going to say on trigger enter 2D. When that object enters that object, mm-hmm. you're going to have to do something then. We're going to do this. Okay. So we're going to take that script and I'm going to put it on the trigger. Okay. Now that script here, let's go back. Pooling. Okay. So first thing we're going to do here, we're going to declare an object, a game object, outside. So any object in my scene. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to move it 72 units forward. I can later on tweak that Okay.
So you're just changing the X position of the previous prefab.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is this trigger. Okay. We'll take this object, but I want to keep this object because I have here nicely the entrances and everything. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this prefab and I'm gonna duplicate it and place it here.
Trigger and all.
Yeah. And that trigger, what will I move forward? This.
You can rename that prefab to prefab 02.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just going to better make it clear for me.
Make it more clear in the
Yeah,
scripting.
this one too.
Movie.
Yeah, and this one will be 1. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to select here my trigger, and what will I move forward? This object. So the trigger.
For the trigger for 2 will 1
Yeah.
prefab 1 and vice
So
versa.
you can drag and drop it in here. Okay, and then I had something here from the fuel can and the laser. Let's look at that. I'm going to go here to my pooling script. Okay, what I'm going to do is randomly I will activate the fuel can or the laser.
Setting them to true or false.
Yeah.
So they're always going to be in the level, but they may not be active in that copy of the level.
Exactly. So here you can take here my trigger. Okay, and what I'm going to do, the fuel can, the laser here, I'm going to put it here, and
You're
the
just
fuel
dragging
can,
and dropping to match.
Yeah. The fuel can, and the object will be this one. Okay, and then here in my trigger, this one is just the opposite. It's the fuel can from here, and the laser from the other one. Okay, so now my character, when I press play, okay, what we're going to see is we're going to run, and we start to tumble here. Okay, why is that? Because this object has to be a trigger. And right now,
You're just colliding with it.
yeah. So I'm going to select them both, and I'm going to both set them to. I'm going to select them here, and I say this is a trigger.
You need to set a box 2D trigger too, or a 2D.
Yes,
physics.
yes, exactly. So we're going to remove this component, and we're going to say here this is actually add a component, physics 2D.
'Cause just for fun, you made it a 3D object, but it still needs a 2D collider on the 3D object to actually collide with the other 2D.
Yeah, because we use the function on enter 2D, and our character has the 2D collider on it. So as a trigger here, and this trigger.
So that's just a checkbox and under the box collider for
Yeah.
is trigger.
Correct.
Now, what's the difference between a trigger and a normal collider?
Okay, when it's a normal collider, it will collide and hit it against it. If it's a trigger,
It's like our floor; it'll stop.
yeah, the trigger basically will just go through it. But trigger, it will say, okay, you can on trigger enter and evoke the scripts.
So doing some code, but not actually
Yeah.
stopping the physics object
Yeah.
anyway.
So I'm gonna add a 2D box collider to here, and also a trigger. Okay, so press play, and what we're gonna see is here we're gonna keep running now, and okay, there is something there.
I think it's tripping you up when you go from one to
Yes.
the other.
So what we're gonna do is select our character here, and a very simple trick is here, fixed angle.
Set that to true. Fixed angle to true.
Yeah, so that cannot roll our character. So press play. Okay, I'm gonna jump here a little bit, and I'm gonna go here. We're gonna hit the trigger here, and now we see is here the object moved to there, but exactly the same. It moves just this distance forward. So in script you should change it maybe to way more. So I'm just gonna check here in script here. This trigger pooling script. So we have the script here, and we should then basically change those values here, the 72, to move much.
Start one ahead of time.
Yeah, we should multiply by 2.
You pre-bake the script to go to that position of that first one.
Oh, it's just it takes this object.
Yeah.
Okay, and it moves it 72 units forward basically. Okay. So okay, just gonna check here. This trigger will do this prefab 2, the fuel can that, and it has to move it. Which actually it has to move. If I have this prefab, okay, this prefab 2. So right now it's in 56, and it should go to. So it should be about 50 units forward, I think. Okay, let me just check here. Click here, we hit this, jump here, we hit the prefab. Okay, yes, and what happens is our prefab 2 went
It went a little bit too far.
Way too far. So we should.
But this is something that you could tweak as part of your code later on and make sure it lines up exactly. And you would measure how big each segment's going to be, and you can even set that as a variable in your code that you can adjust in the editor, just like the other ones, to make it exactly right.
Yeah. So I think we only have 2 minutes left, or
I think we're at 2 minutes over. So
okay.
So we might have to cut short here.
Yeah. What we're gonna do? Let's open the project here and let's go quickly in depth over there. Okay.
So you're just showing the final version, what it would look like after you tweak the scripts, make it all lined up exactly. And also one thing we didn't get to cover was adding the scripts to the pickup objects itself, like the laser and the hand, that when you hit it, it'll add points or restart the game.
So what you see is here the character now will put the colliders invisible, and then it moves this object to there when I hit the collider.
And it's lined up exactly right, so it looks seamless to the player.
Yeah. And then how we do the pickup object, it's really simple. Let me go here to the pickup objects, like I'm going to say here the fuel can. Okay. We added a simple script here. No, we added actually to the character. Okay. To our character here, and we have a script here, pickup. Okay. And it's a really simple script. Okay. Where on trigger enter, if it's a can,
it checks the object that I'm colliding with a can.
Yeah. And then we set it to deactivate, so we don't see it anymore. Give ourselves a point. And then we actually send this also to our text here, so that we can see how many values there. This is the canvas. In the 4.6, we have our new GUI system. Definitely check out the blogs afterwards at Unity. We will record this tutorial more in depth with everything. And there you can see then this value here. I sent a value to those text to show it there. And we also have here a menu made that when I press play, that it comes in, animated, and then you can click play again to play the game again. Okay.
Awesome.
Everything of this project will be tomorrow available on our asset store. Check out under the 10 Planet 2D art. The level, the scenes, and the scripts will be all available for the community.
So you can mess with it yourself, make your own Endless Runner game.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully you guys learned something. And stick around for the next session. We'll take a quick 10-minute break.
Hi, welcome back to Developing 2D and 3D Games with Unity on Windows. I am here again with another good friend of mine, Matt Newman, for what is, to me, I think the most exciting session of the day, just because I'm a developer, and I think I'm okay on the development side, strong on the development side, but on the art side, I can draw a mean stick figure, and I think that's about all I can do.
So we actually get to create some stuff too, which is pretty cool. I think everybody likes to see that too.
Yes. So Matt actually put out, well, tell us about yourself first.
Okay, so my name is Matt Newman. I run a small little studio called Subscience Studios out of Tustin, California. We're an indie game studio. We recently completed work on there's a game for the band Avenged Sevenfold, if anybody's heard of that. It's called Hail to the King Death Bat. That's launching on mobile devices very, very, very soon. Before that, I worked in another studio called Mad Menace, and I created a game called Grave Stompers, which you can find on all mobile devices nowadays. It's on iOS, it's on Amazon, it's on Ouya even. It's everywhere. So definitely check that out. It's a really cool game that I made. And then today basically we're just going to get together and do some 2D assets and create some stuff. And I kind of wanted to show you my process, my workflow, and like what I do when I create assets for the games. And then we're just going to go run with that.
So this is indeed Module 3, 2D and 3D asset creation. And you put out something interesting out into the chat room earlier, asking the folks.
Yes. So yeah, we put a question out there saying, what kind of character would you guys like to see me create? And we got a bunch of really interesting kind of choices out there, and different, everybody had their different characters and what they wanted. What I thought was cool was Triceratops, just kind of, I don't know, I love dinosaurs. That really kind of struck me. And then we kind of tweaked it from there. We did alien Triceratops, cyborg Triceratops.
Kept going with it.
Yeah, and then we ended up going with a barbarian cyborg alien Triceratops, like hybrid creature. So anyways, I kind of doodled a little bit while the comments were going on, and we did create a version of that, which I can actually bring up here and show you. This was just a really, really quick sketch of something that I was working on. But right here, this was just literally while the comments were happening. So I just kind of came in here and started doodling a sketch. But we'll get back to that when we get to the 2D creation, and I'm going to refine that and actually show you my workflow of taking this sketch and actually bringing it in to Illustrator, creating the different pieces that you could then make move and do different things to create like a skeleton-based character for a 2D game. And also doing it in vector too. So when you do things in vector, you know, it's really important, I think, to do your character designs in vector, because not only will you have these great crystal clear assets that you can use in Unity and other places, but you can export it in all kinds of different resolutions for marketing materials and other things like print and whatever you use it for. So it goes beyond just the game. So it's a really, really great way to do your character. So we'll get to that when we get to the 2D character creation. But I think to start,
both of us have young kids.
Yeah, we do.
And so you ever seen Despicable Me?
Oh, yeah.
I'm Vector.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I hear the word vector, which is often that goes through my head. So let's talk about a module overview, what we're going to be covering today. Matt's going to be going on a title screen. So
we're going to start with a title screen creation. We're going to show you the different elements that make up a title screen when you do make a title screen. We kind of came up with a concept, you know, for this event, and it was really, really quick. We did it over the last, I think 4 days. We kind of knocked this thing out. But we came up with, it was Zombie Pumpkin Slayers, which is basically,
yes.
It's kind of cool. Just like a off the cuff, zombies are cool. Halloween's around the corner. So it was the perfect type of game to create in the last minute. But we basically, we created a zombie character. We created some enemy pumpkins. A level, we created a cool branding for it, a title screen, all the elements that you need to basically kind of start your own kind of indie game. We just kind of wanted to get it there, give you some cool stuff. You could run with that. We're going to have all the files available after this that you can download and kind of see what we did process-wise. We'll get to that later on where everything's going to be. But yeah, to start, I kind of wanted to show you guys, you know, I always start with the branding. Whenever I create an indie game or a concept or a character, you know, I start with doodling the character, obviously, but then you got to think about, you know, what is the title of this? What's going to grab like the user when they see this game? And so with this, we wanted to start with the title screen of the game. So for Zombie Pumpkin Slayers, I'll actually pull it up right here. Let's see if we go. Just give me a second here, and we'll load this up. I wanted to do something that was very in the vein of zombies and, you know, pumpkins and slaying and all that. So I'll show you right here. This was kind of the end concept of what we ended up running with that we really, really dug. We wanted it to take place in a graveyard. You know, I did make Grave Stompers back in the day, so it was a perfect scenario for this to take place. And the loose kind of theme in the story for this mobile game was we wanted these evil pumpkin patches to basically be spawning pumpkins and taking over the cemetery from the zombies. So you're actually playing the zombie, protecting your cemetery from these evil pumpkins. Hence, you are the Zombie Pumpkin Slayer.
So tell us kind of the overview. What would I do if I want to create a title screen?
So to create a title screen, first there's different elements that you're going to need to create a title screen. One, you're going to need the logo, obviously, which we have here in Illustrator, this kind of zombie pumpkin slayer awesome thing. And then from that, you're also going to need your options buttons. So, you know, play and options and all that different kind of stuff. And you probably want to style those or choose a font or anything that's kind of in the vein of what you're doing. I think a lot of people, you know, it's very, very common, and they just don't have the right font choices in the things they do. So you just want to kind of keep everything in sync and kind of in the realm of what you're trying to create.
There's lots of great font sites on the net they can download. Right?
Absolutely. Abstract fonts, I use that all the time. There's Duff Font. There's all these different sites out there that are great, and they're free. And there's lots of freemium fonts to use, and take advantage of this. Go through, and what's great is you can actually type in the name of your game, whatever game is going to be, in a lot of these font sites, and preview the fonts and go through the different categories and kind of say, oh, that looks good. And you can kind of see what it looks like. And then from there, you can download that font, create it, bring it into Illustrator, and then start tweaking it and making it how you really want. Now, for this game, I kind of did something different. Usually, I did kind of a hybrid. I used one font that I found off a font site for the Slayer portion because I just wanted that really crisp and clean, like a Slayer. But the Zombie Pumpkin, I kind of just wanted to go off with my art skills and do something kind of different. So for the zombie portion, I actually sketched this all out. This is kind of my process I use a lot. You know, this whole thing was done in Illustrator. As you can see here, there's all these different, it's just all vector graphics. It's all traced with a pen. I do things in different layers, and then I'll cut things up and just kind of piece it how I want to and piece it all together. I use outlines a lot to kind of just reinforce the different elements. And then I also do collective outlines to kind of really just bring it all together. But for this, I'll show you the sketch here. So if we go into Photoshop, and first thing I did, I like to start on pencil and paper. It's just kind of my way I do things. So I started with this, just a really quick pen mock-up of a zombie logo. Like that's where it started.
So this is the first step you would do in creating title screens.
Yeah, the absolute first step, and I'll just bring this in Illustrator so we can see it kind of side by side. Let me just grab this whole thing here so we can do that.
And how long did it take you to sketch out that kind of little quick text there?
This didn't take too long. I would say this is probably less than 10 minutes of work, just kind of going through and just thinking about, and it's not perfect. I mean, you look at it, it's just very, very loose, right? It was just kind of like zombie. Because I know with Illustrator, I'm going to use this as my reference layer. It's like a template layer. But from there, I can actually take this graphic I made and really refine it and do something cool like that. So you can see the finished product is very, very similar to the sketch that I initially created. But doing that, having this kind of loose sketch as my guideline gave me the ability to really kind of start playing with the elements and adding things like, really refining the look of the stitches and just kind of like cleaning it up and making it crystal clear. And what's cool is, obviously now it's vector. I can use this on anything, right? T-shirts and games on the side of a bus, like whatever. And it's always going to look crystal clean and great.
Stands out no matter how big you make it.
Yeah, exactly. And then with pumpkins, I was kind of like, well, okay, I'm gonna try to incorporate pumpkins in there somehow. And I was thinking about the shape of the pumpkins and the coloring, and so I kind of threw some little pumpkin nods in there with the shape of these peas and the way that the pumpkins look in here, and kind of just wanted to do that. Like it almost looks like it's carved out of there, kind of like a pumpkin, just to kind of reinforce the differences between the two factions in the game. You've got the zombies and you've got the pumpkins, and they got to look different, but have it in the same logo. So I think together, and then from there, I added these little. I thought just the pumpkin vines would be pretty cool, just as like a detail element on the logo. You want to have something in there. I might even go back and add some actual evil pumpkins on the side or something like that. But I thought this kind of really helped tie it all together. And then the Slayer, just for me, I figured it needed to be something crisp and clear, like
cool.
like a Slayer would be.
Slayer would be.
Yeah, like a blade. I wanted it like a blade or some kind of weapon, like just something that really reinforced how the Slayer feel. So yeah, there you go. You start with that. You start with these different elements. When I'm in Illustrator and I bring an element like this, I always, if we look at our layers in Illustrator, right here, so you can see there's this little option on the side. If you go over here, and you can make it a template layer. So I always and you see everything kind of goes like translucent when I do that, right? And so that gives me a nice guide to work from, because it's not harsh blacks and whites, because you can't see what you're working on. It gives you kind of a gray and white version of what you're trying to do.
It's almost like that's your tracing layer, almost?
It's like a tracing layer, absolutely. So you can bring your sketches in and then use it as a tracing layer. And I use that not only for the logos, but all the characters I make and the different things. I use that exact same thing to basically, trace what I'm doing. I mean, you're really just tracing and refining and making it look crystal clear and nice.
I guess the advantage of computers, you can refine and erase and refine, erase.
Yeah, and I would say the main tools I use, so when I'm in Illustrator and I bring that sketch in, make it the template layer like we did, you always want to make a new layer above it and call it whatever, just keep it layer 2 for now, but I'm notoriously bad with naming my layers, which many people are, so don't feel too bad. Yeah, and people I work with, they always say that, the layers, I have an issue with that, so I always go back, but I think that's the artist, right? That's the artist in you, the creative, sometimes you just want to run and get things made, and that's what you have to do. But I do suggest naming your layers. I don't not do that. But yeah, from here, we can see, okay, I have this zombie logo. It's kind of grayed out here, the template layer. And I always just grab my pen tool and I fill it with black to start. And then I just start tracing out the logo, and Illustrator has some pretty good lock recognition going on. So it kind of knows when you're tracing over something where to lock certain things. So you can kind of go through and trace each individual element. And then you throw them off to the side too. So like I made that Z, I throw it off to the side. Then I go back and I want to do like, maybe the O, I'd rather just use the ellipse tool, and I can just.
That was my next question. How do you do the irregular kind of shapes like that?
Use some of the tools that they have. The direct selection tool right here next to the actual selection tool is how you select, like almost like in 3D where you select your verts. This just kind of gives you a really good area where you can, grab a portion of it and kind of contort it to the shape you're trying to get. So I have that kind of oblong-looking O. And
these same tools exist in virtually any of the vector graphic programs, right? So the free one like Inkscape, Illustrator.
You need to say, I would be shocked if they didn't, because this is pretty much how it's done nowadays. But from there, you get your shapes. You want to block out your major shapes on your logos. So I'm just kind of going through and tracing these different elements. Just kind of getting those shapes, those big shapes. And I always just kind of throw them off to the side, and once you make them, just kind of throw them off to the side and then range it later, because you just want to get these. You don't want to be drawing over things. Just take one piece at a time.
I'd like to buy a bee.
Yeah, no, a bee, right?
Vowel.
Yeah, you just come through and for things like bees, I always use these like kind of triangle shapes like that. And then there's another tool in here called the anchor point tool, which allows you to get these really nice arcs.
Oh, cool.
So, and that kind of goes in hand with when you're doing like custom shapes. You can get nice curves on them and things like that. So with that bee, you just get all the shapes you want. Just kind of go in there and you do each piece, and then when you're ready, bring them back in or bring them back into position, and you can add more points.